Officer Creighton didn't walk into Crestwood Mall's loading bay. He stormed in like he was hunting a fugitive. "Hey!" he shouted, voice bouncing off the concrete walls. "Drop the toolbox right now!" A startled mall worker flinched. But the officer wasn't yelling at him. He was yelling at a 71-year-old black janitor, quietly wiping grease off an old floor buffer. Thomas Weaver looked up slowly, confused. He hadn't even heard the alarm go off. "There he is," Creighton sneered loudly, pointing as if he'd cornered a terrorist. "The intruder, the thief, the wannabe maintenance man." Workers peeked around corners. Phones lifted. Someone whispered, "Why are they yelling at the janitor?" But Creighton kept going. "You think you're clever, old man?" he barked, walking right up to Tom. "Sneaking around the restricted wing, trying to steal equipment?" He leaned in, voice dripping with contempt. "You folks love to collect things that don't belong to you, don't you?" Tom blinked, stunned by the hostility. I'm just cleaning," he said softly. "Sir, I work—" Creighton shoved him, hard. A 71-year-old man. "Don't talk back to me. You're trespassing, you're breaking and entering, and you're about to spend your golden years in a jail cell." His partner, Officer Mills, burst out laughing. "Look at him. He can barely lift that mop. What's he gonna steal? A vacuum?" Workers winced. Tom just swallowed. Creighton circled him like a predator. "What's your name? Tommy? Thomas? Something biblical?" he smirked. "Or do you just go by, hey, janitor?" Tom stayed calm. "I've worked this job for 8 years, officer. There's a mistake." "Oh, there's no mistake. Trust me, I can smell a liar." He snapped his fingers in Tom's face, just like your reference scene. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." Tom did. Creighton laughed. "You know what? Before I arrest you, let's test something." He grabbed Tom's mop handle and held it up mockingly. "Show me how to use this, because I don't think you know. I think you're pretending." People gasped. It was humiliating, deliberate, targeted, cruel. Mills pulled out his phone and started recording. "World star moment," he whispered. "Old man janitor caught breaking into storage. This'll go viral." Creighton shoved Tom again. "Hands behind your back, now." Tom winced as the cuffs tightened painfully. "You're shaking. Scared? Or is that arthritis?" Creighton smirked. "Ha, don't worry. The prison will let you mop floors too." Then, as if humiliation wasn't enough, Creighton grabbed Tom's ID badge off his uniform and examined it. "This says Thomas Weaver?" He held it up and chuckled. "Who made this for you? Your grandson? Did you print this at home to play pretend?" Tom took a slow breath. "It's real. I've been—" "Oh, give me a break!" Creighton shouted, throwing the badge across the floor. "You, real employee? Sir, the only job you ever had was washing dishes for cash." A murmur swept through the hallway. People stared in shock. Creighton jerked Tom forward. "You're coming with us. Let's see your real identity at the station." Mills typed Tom's name into the mall system. Then, beep, beep, beep. Alert, red screen, access blocked. A chilling message flashed. "Classified personnel, level 6 security. Do not proceed." Mills froze. Creighton frowned. "What did you do?" Mills stammered. I didn't do anything. The system locked me out." Another worker whispered. "Level 6. That's federal classification." Creighton scoffed. "Ha! He probably hacked the system. Old people click random things all the time." But then, the security office phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Urgent, sharp, wrong. Mills answered. "Crestwood Mall Security, Officer Milt." He stopped mid-sentence, his face drained of color. Creighton barked, "Who is it?" Mills couldn't breathe. Finally, he whispered, "The Pentagon." Dead silence. Everyone stared at Tom, the old black janitor, still handcuffed, still calm, still sitting with perfect posture. The voice on the line boomed. "This is General Hale. You have detained a federal asset. Agents are en route. Do not touch him again." Creighton stumbled backward, shaking. Nils whispered, Who are you?" Tom lifted his eyes slowly, voice steady as stone. "I told you. You made a mistake." Officer Rourke didn't just detain Marcus. He performed it. Like a showman with an audience, he yanked Marcus toward the patrol SUV and shoved him against the cold metal, flattening his cheek to the window. Shoppers stopped. Some whispered. Some pulled out their phones. A few smirked because that's the world Marcus lived in. If a black father got stopped, people just assumed he must have done something. "Stop resisting," Rourke barked loudly. Marcus wasn't resisting. He wasn't even breathing heavy. But that phrase, that disgusting, rehearsed phrase, was meant for the crowd, not for truth. Marcus forced out, "Sir, my kids, they're watching." Rourke leaned in, voice venomous and low. "Maybe that'll teach you not to start trouble in a family store. You people always do." The words stung worse than the cuffs. Inside the SUV, the young cadet who'd witnessed everything, Officer Bailey, stood frozen at the door. His face had gone pale. He'd heard officers talk rough before, but this wasn't rough. This was targeted. He opened his mouth. "Sir, he didn't—" Rourke whipped his head around. "You speak again, rookie, and I'll have you back doing traffic cones at the academy. Move!" Bailey shut his mouth, but his eyes burned. Meanwhile, two teenage girls around Marcus's kid's age walked by laughing at him as he struggled in cuffs. One whispered loudly, "What did he do? Steal something?" The other shrugged. "Probably. Look at him." Marcus swallowed the humiliation like poison. He wanted to say something, anything, but he knew one wrong breath would turn this into something unfixable. Rourke shoved him again, harder. "Stand still." Marcus staggered but caught himself. He wasn't a small man, but the position he was in, hands cuffed, kids crying, a crowd staring, made him feel smaller than he had in his entire life. Then, a little voice cut through the noise. "Daddy!" His son Malik ran toward him, panic on his face. His daughter Arya right behind him, sobbing so hard she could barely see. A bystander tried to block them. "They can't go to him." Marcus lifted his hands as much as the cuffs allowed. "Please let them come." Rourke snorted. "Huh, now you care about rules." Bailey finally stepped forward, swallowing his fear. "Sir, this is a public place. Let the kids—" "I said move, Bailey." Rourke shoved the rookie back. That did it. Arya screamed hysterically and clung to her father's leg, shaking. Malik tried to push Rourke's hand away, shouting, "Leave my dad alone!" Rourke grabbed the boy by the arm, way too tight, and snarled, "Control your child!" Bailey's eyes widened. That crossed a line. "Sir, that's excessive." "Enough!" Rourke barked and lifted Malik off the ground to pull him back. Marcus lost it. He twisted, he stepped forward, he did everything he could with cuffed hands, voice breaking. "Don't touch my son!" But Rourke didn't stop. And the crowd didn't help. And the humiliation reached a boiling point, so intense that even people who thought Marcus might have done something wrong started shifting uncomfortably. This wasn't policing. This was bullying. Then, a sudden tension shot through the air. A cold, sharp voice came from behind the crowd. "Step away from him now." Rourke turned, annoyed. Who the hell? But the moment he saw who it was, his face drained of color. Because standing behind the crowd were 6 men, sharp suits, earpieces, a formation too disciplined to be anything but elite. And one of them held up an ID wallet. Big, black, federal. In bold gold lettering,
United States Secret Service. Before Rourke could speak, the agent said, "You've just put your hands on the wrong man." And the entire parking lot went silent.
For the first time since the chaos began, Officer Rourke froze. It wasn't because of the suits. It wasn't because of the tone. It was because of the badge. The Secret Service agent, tall, square-shouldered, and calm in a terrifying way, held it just high enough for every bystander to see. A ripple went through the watching crowd. Someone whispered, "Secret Service?" Another, "Oh my God, what's happening?" A woman near the back murmured, "That officer's done. You don't talk back to them." Rourke's jaw tightened. He tried to act tough, but his voice cracked when he spoke. "And who exactly are you looking for?" The agent didn't blink. He didn't gesture. He didn't even raise his voice. He simply pointed directly at Marcus. Him. Dead silence. Even Arya stopped crying long enough to turn and stare at the men in suits. Marcus blinked, stunned. He recognized two of them, vaguely. He'd seen them around, shadowed, quiet, always a few steps behind when he traveled for work. But they rarely stepped forward like this. Rourke let out a short, nervous laugh. Him? This man? He just caused a disturbance. The agent stepped closer. "No, you caused a disturbance, and you put your hands on a man under our protection." Rourke swallowed hard. Bailey, the rookie, looked like someone had just handed him a live grenade. His eyes darted between Marcus and the agents. "Protection? Sir, he's just—" But the agent cut him off sharply. "He's not just anything." He turned slightly, scanning the crowd, making sure everyone heard. "This man is on an active federal protection roster." Phones lifted higher. People gasped. A few stepped back. Rourke frowned, still trying to salvage control. "What does that even mean? You're telling me this guy is some kind of—" "Be very careful with your next words, officer," the agent warned, his voice low enough to make the rookie shiver. Another agent moved silently toward Marcus's children, kneeling to their level, offering a gentle, steady voice. "You're safe. Your dad is safe. Nobody is going to hurt him anymore." Malik sniffed, still shaking. Arya clutched her father's legs so tightly the agents couldn't even see where her arms ended and his began. Marcus, still cuffed, looked between the agents and Rourke, trying to understand where this was going. The lead agent motioned to one of his men. "Get those cuffs off." Rourke snapped, desperate. "You can't just— This is my scene." The agent slowly turned to face him fully. "Officer, your scene ended the moment you put your hands on a protected citizen without cause." Bailey quietly murmured, "We really need to step back, sir." But Rourke ignored him. "You expect me to believe this guy, this man, has Secret Service protection? Why?" The agent didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He spoke with the chilling clarity of a man who could shut down the entire mall with one phone call. "Because the White House says he does." Rourke's face collapsed. Bailey gasped under his breath. Bystanders clutched their chests, whispering, "The White House? What the hell is going on? Who is he? Oh, that cop is done." Marcus felt every eye on him, every assumption, every whispered judgment, every smug look from earlier. All of it flipped in a single sentence. The agent took one step closer to Rourke, close enough that the officer had to tilt his head up to look him in the eye. "And now," the agent said, his voice cold as steel, "you're going to uncuff him, apologize to his children, and step away." Rourke didn't move, not at first, but his hands trembled, his throat bobbed, and the authority he'd been drunk on moments earlier was gone. As he reached for the cuffs, hands shaking so badly he could barely grip them, Marcus exhaled a breath he didn't know he was holding. His humiliation was turning into something else, something bigger, something that was about to change the entire parking lot, because the next words the agent spoke would flip this story from humiliation to history.
Officer Rourke's fingers fumbled so badly that he dropped the key twice. The metallic clink hitting the pavement echoed across the parking lot like a warning shot. The crowd didn't laugh. Not anymore. Not after hearing, "The White House says he does." Phones were everywhere now. Every angle, every gasp, every whispered, "Oh my God." Rourke finally got the cuffs off. Marcus inhaled sharply as the pressure lifted from his wrists, red and raw from how tight they'd been pulled. The agent stepped between Marcus and the officers immediately, shifting the entire balance of power in one smooth motion. "Sir," he said softly to Marcus, "are you hurt?" Marcus wasn't used to being called sir outside of his job, but hearing it here, after being shoved, mocked, cuffed in front of his kids, his throat tightened. Arya wrapped both arms around his waist, sobbing into his jacket. Malik wiped his face with his sleeve, trying to be strong. Rourke awkwardly crouched down, clearly forced by the eyes watching him, and whispered stiffly, "Kids, I apologize for, The lead agent cut in sharply. "No, not like that. Say it like you mean it." Rourke's face flushed. The entire parking lot watched him struggle. Finally, he forced the words out. "I'm sorry for frightening you." Arya didn't even look at him. She just held her father tighter. The humiliation circled back, but now it belonged to Rourke. The lead agent turned toward the crowd and raised his voice slightly. "Everyone, please step back. The situation is under federal jurisdiction." People started murmuring. Federal? White House? Who is this man? Is he a politician? No. I think he's military. Maybe he's undercover. Wait, is he someone important? The questions swarmed like bees. Rourke, red-faced, stepped aside but couldn't stop himself from muttering under his breath, "This makes no damn sense. He's just some random—" The agent whipped around. "Finish that sentence, officer." Rourke shut his mouth instantly. But Marcus finally spoke up, voice steady. "No, let him talk. Today seems to be the day people feel real comfortable assuming who I am." The crowd hushed. The agent nodded once, giving Marcus space. Marcus looked down at his kids, who were still clinging to him, then back up at the officers who had thrown him against a car minutes ago. "You want to know why the White House calls me?" The silence was complete. Even the wind paused. Rourke folded his arms, defensive. Bailey swallowed nervously. The agent stood guard, unreadable. Marcus exhaled slowly. "I didn't ask for protection. I don't even like the attention. But 2 months ago—" He hesitated. His voice softened. "I stopped a bombing." Gasps shot through the crowd. Arya looked up at him, confused. Malik blinked hard, staring at his father like he'd never seen him before. Rourke scoffed, but it was a weak, shaky sound. The lead agent stepped forward, speaking now so the crowd could hear. "This man, Marcus Hill, saved over 300 lives at the East Terminal Transit Station. He located the device, evacuated the area, and shielded 2 children when it detonated prematurely." A wave of shock rolled through the parking lot. A man in the back whispered, "Shielded children?" A woman covered her mouth. Another whispered, "That's why the Secret Service is here." Someone else murmured, "No wonder." Marcus shook his head. "I didn't shield anyone. I just did what I hope any parent would do." The agent continued, unwavering. The president disagrees. He calls Marcus a national hero. Rourke blinked fast, like his brain was trying to reboot. A bystander stepped forward, pointing her phone at him. You shoved a national hero to the ground? You cuffed him in front of his kids? Rourke opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The rookie mumbled, Sir, we're in trouble. But this wasn't just trouble. This was career-ending. The agent wasn't done. He turned to Rourke with the cold certainty of a man delivering a verdict. You assaulted a man under federal protection. You ignored his children's distress. You escalated a peaceful situation. Then he said the words that buckled Rourke's knees. You will surrender your weapon and badge, now. The parking lot erupted, shouts, gasps, phones shooting upward. Rourke looked like he had been punched in the stomach. You can't do that! Another agent stepped behind him, hand extended. Your badge, officer. His face drained of color. His hand hovered at his chest. Slowly, shaking, he placed his badge into the agent's palm. Then his gun. The moment it left his hand, the crowd erupted in murmurs. He just got stripped. They took his badge. Serves him right. Justice. Rourke stared at Marcus with a mix of fury and humiliation, but Marcus didn't look back. He was too busy sinking to his knees, pulling his children into his arms. Aria sobbed, Daddy, are we really safe now? Marcus kissed her forehead. Yes, baby, we're safe. But the agent's next sentence made the entire parking lot freeze again. Mr. Hill, the White House is requesting to speak with you right now. The secret Marcus never wanted exposed was suddenly impossible to hide.
The lead agent tapped his earpiece, listened for a second, then turned to Marcus. Sir, they're patching the call through now. A stillness swept over the parking lot. A trembling, electric quiet, the kind that comes before something life-altering. Marcus's stomach dropped. He didn't want this. Not here. Not like this. His kid's arms were still wrapped around him. His wrists still burned where the cuffs had dug in. Dozens of strangers still held phones up, waiting for the moment that would go viral by sunrise. But the agent's tone left no room for refusal. Mr. Hill, it's the president. A ripple of shock rolled through the crowd. The rookie officer's knees bent like he might collapse. Officer Bailey whispered, Holy, before catching himself. Even the wind seemed to hush. The agent extended a secure phone. Marcus hesitated, glancing down at Arya and Malik. You okay if Daddy takes a quick call? Both kids nodded, wide-eyed, still clinging to him. He stood slowly, his back cracked from the slam against the pavement earlier. Someone in the crowd whispered, Look, he's hurt. Another whispered, Imagine hurting a man like that. Marcus took a steady breath and lifted the phone to his ear. His voice barely came out. Hello? The president's warm, steady voice filled the silence. Marcus? I heard what happened. Are your children all right? Every phone recording picked it up. Dozens of viewers held their breath. The security guards at the mall entrance went rigid. Marcus swallowed hard. Yes, sir. They're shaken, but okay. And you, the president pressed gently, were you harmed? Marcus closed his eyes. He thought of Rourke's hand slamming into his chest, his cheek pressed against the cold pavement, his kids screaming, Stop! Stop! That's our dad! His voice cracked. Just a little. I've been through worse, sir. There was a beat of silence, heavy with meaning. Then, Not on my watch, the president said firmly. Not again. A murmur swept through the crowd, people tearing up, some wiping their faces. You are under our protection for a reason. You saved children in that terminal, and today you protected your own. You deserve respect, safety, and dignity.
At all times. Marcus opened his eyes. He wasn't shaking anymore. Something in him had steadied. Yes, sir. The president exhaled, not annoyed, but relieved. I want you and your children brought directly to the secure vehicle. We'll debrief you privately. And Marcus, I want you to know something. His voice deepened. What happened today was wrong, but the entire country is about to see who the real hero was in that parking lot. Several people in the crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "He called him hero." Another whispered, "This is going on every news station by dinner." Marcus's eyes burned. He wasn't a man who cried easily. He had learned not to. But right now he had to look at the ground to keep tears from falling in front of his kids. "Thank you, sir." "No," the president replied softly. "Thank you." The call ended. The parking lot was silent for 3 seconds. Then, a small voice broke the stillness. "Daddy?" Arya tugged his sleeve. Marcus knelt down so he was eye level with her. Her face was streaked with tears, but her voice was strong. "Are you a hero?" The words stabbed straight through him. He didn't want them. He didn't ask for them. He just wanted to be their dad. Marcus cupped her cheeks gently. "I'm your dad first, and that's better than being any hero." Arya hugged him so tight it almost knocked the air out of his lungs. Malik joined them, burying his face into Marcus's shoulder. People around them cried openly. An older woman whispered to her husband he didn't deserve any of this. A teenager muttered, "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen." A man in a business suit shook his head and said, "If this doesn't go viral, nothing will." The lead agent stepped forward again, voice firm again. "Mr. Hill, we need to escort you now." But something unexpected happened. People stepped aside on their own, clearing a path without being asked. Mothers moved their kids, teenagers lowered their phones, a man removed his hat. Marcus didn't walk out like a suspect. He walked out like someone the entire world had underestimated. But as he followed the agents toward the waiting SUVs, someone in the crowd shouted, "What's going to happen to those cops?" Every head snapped toward Rourke and Bailey. Marcus glanced back.
The moment Marcus and his kids were escorted toward the motorcade, every phone in the crowd swung toward officers Rourke and Bailey. This wasn't like earlier. There was no confusion now, no chaos, no noise, just rage. Someone shouted again, "Are they getting arrested or what?" Rourke stiffened, trying to regain the alpha posture he'd had minutes before, but it was gone. Gone with the cuffs, gone with the truth, gone with the President of the United States calling Marcus sir. Bailey stepped back, like he was trying to disappear into the pavement. The lead Secret Service agent didn't raise his voice, he didn't posture, he didn't threaten. He simply turned toward the two officers and said, "Detective Rourke, Officer Bailey, your weapons now." You could have cut the tension with a knife. Rourke blinked. Why? We didn't— "Your weapons," the agent repeated coolly, "and your badges." A collective gasp rippled through the parking lot. A woman clutched her purse to her chest. A teenage boy whispered, "Oh my God, they're stripping them right here." Bailey's hand shook as he slowly unholstered his gun. He placed it carefully into the agent's waiting palm. Rourke didn't move. He stared at the ground like it might swallow him. The agent took one step closer and said, "You assaulted a protected federal asset, in front of witnesses, in front of your own body cameras, and in front of live recording civilians." Rourke opened his mouth. No words came out. "Badge," the agent said again. Rourke's jaw clenched so tightly a vein pulsed along the side of his head. He ripped the badge from his chest and slapped it into the agent's hand. Phones caught the moment from 10 angles.
A hush fell, the kind that doesn't feel peaceful, but historic. The agent continued. You had a chance to de-escalate. You had multiple warnings. You chose force. Then you attempted to detain a federal protectee in front of his minor children. He gestured to the motorcade. The only reason you're not in handcuffs is because Mr. Hill did not request your immediate detainment. Rourke's face twisted. He looked up, toward the path Marcus and his kids had walked away moments earlier. This is insane. We couldn't have known. You didn't need to know, the agent cut in. You needed to follow protocol. A crowd member shouted, "Yeah, you just needed to not be a bully." Someone else yelled, "He was holding his kids. What threat is that?" Rourke flinched. He looked like a man waking up to the wreckage he caused. The agent stepped closer, lowering his voice, but not enough to hide from the phones still recording. A man's position does not excuse your aggression. The color of his skin does not justify your force. You failed today. Every syllable hit like a hammer. Bailey looked sick. Rourke looked like his world was collapsing. People in the crowd murmured, "They're done. They're getting fired for sure." Forget fired. This is federal. Then, the moment that turned recordings into breaking news material. A second SUV door opened. A senior-ranking federal inspector stepped out. Silver hair, hard stare, clipboard in hand. Without greeting the crowd, she walked straight up to Rourke and Bailey. "Both of you will report for immediate administrative separation pending federal inquiry, effective now." Rourke's mouth fell open. "What? Separation? Over this?" The inspector didn't blink. "You placed your hands on a man who had direct clearance with the President of the United States. You used physical force on a father in front of his children. And you fabricated suspicion to justify unnecessary escalation." Her tone sharpened. "You're lucky he's merciful. The law will not be." Phones shot upward. Gasps broke everywhere. A small group began clapping. The inspector wasn't done. She turned to the crowd, raising her voice so the cameras caught every word. "We do not tolerate misconduct. Not in this city, not under this government, not under this administration." Rourke's chest rose and fell rapidly, humiliation boiling under his skin. Bailey's lips trembled. Then the inspector delivered the final blow. If Mr. Hill had been anyone else, this still would have been unacceptable. The crowd erupted. Cheers, tears, applause. A woman whispered, "Finally, someone said it." A man muttered, "This is justice." Rourke looked like he wanted to run. Bailey looked like he wanted to disappear. Meanwhile, the motorcade holding Marcus and his kids rolled away quietly, but the story didn't. Because within minutes, every video was online, every angle was uploaded, every social feed was exploding. Secret Service saves dad in toy store parking lot. Officers strip badges after attacking hero father. President personally calls target of wrongful arrest. Marcus Hill's name spread across the internet like wildfire. But Section 7, that's where the entire nation takes sides, where news anchors, politicians, and millions of parents erupt with outrage, and where Marcus learns the truth he never expected. They weren't done protecting him. Not by a long shot.
Chaos didn't just ripple through the supermarket, it detonated. Because the moment the governor vanished behind that back hallway, everyone expected the mess to calm down. It didn't. It escalated. Officer Brandt paced near the meat aisle like a caged animal, jaw clenched, sweat beading under his hat, even though the AC was blasting.
He kept barking orders at shoppers like he was suddenly running a military checkpoint instead of a grocery store. "Step back," he yelled at an elderly woman who wasn't even close to him. "Phones away, you're obstructing." A lie. Nobody believed him. The crowd murmured, disgusted. A middle-aged man whispered, "He's panicking. He knows he messed up." A teenager replied, "Bro is sweating harder than the frozen turkey section." And it was true. The man looked shaken, rattled, caught between fear and rage. The kind of rage bullies get when they know the mask is slipping. 5 whole minutes passed. 5 minutes of Brant trying to overcompensate, puff up his chest, glare at Marcus like he was the criminal. Meanwhile, Marcus stood silent, shoulders squared, protective as hell, keeping his daughter tucked behind him. He wasn't scared. He was done. Then, the sound of footsteps, slow, sharp, measured. The governor stepped back into the store, but with 2 badge-heavy men behind her, men with the posture of people who do not answer to local police. The crowd instantly parted like she carried gravity. Brant swallowed so hard his throat clicked. "Officer Brant," the governor said, voice low but cutting, "come with me." 4 words, deadly quiet, sharper than any shouting. Brant tried to fake calm. "Ma'am, with all due respect, the suspect." "The suspect," she repeated, eyes narrowing, "is the father of the child in this aisle, and the father of the child I was here to meet." Murmurs, gasps. One woman actually whispered, "Oh, he is done." Brant's face went red, then white, then a sickly gray. The governor stepped closer, close enough that he could feel the heat of being caught. "You detained a civilian without cause. You threatened force. You escalated a non-incident involving a parent and a 5-year-old child. And then," she paused, "you put your hands on him?" Brant stared at the floor, because everyone in that store saw it, everyone recorded it, and everyone knew he wasn't getting out of this. She addressed the whole aisle next. "Is anyone here willing to share their footage?" Every single hand went up. Phones shot into the air like a modern-day torchlight crowd. Brant looked around and saw a sea of screens angled at him, capturing his downfall from every possible angle. One man shouted, "I got the whole thing from the yogurt section." Another yelled, "I got the part where he grabbed him." A teenager added, "I zoomed. It's HD, ma'am." The governor nodded, calm, professional, but visibly furious beneath it. "Thank you. My office will collect everything. This ends today." Cornered, humiliated, exposed, Brant snapped. "I was doing my job," he barked. The governor didn't flinch. "Your job," she said, "does not include targeting parents, intimidating families, or abusing authority because you think no one is watching." And then, the dagger. But today, everyone was. The crowd broke into murmurs, nods, a few claps. Brant's badge suddenly looked very small on his chest. While Brant stood there shaking, waiting for whatever career-ending verdict was about to be announced, the governor turned to Marcus. But she wasn't just looking at him. She was looking through him, like she had already known something the rest of the world hadn't put together yet, and then she said something that made the entire store fall silent again. Something that changed the direction of the story, for the cop, for Marcus, for everyone in that aisle. "Mr. Hale, before we go further, I need to confirm something with you privately." "Why?" someone asked. The governor's eyes softened, just slightly, as she answered. "Because his identity is not for any of you, and certainly not for this officer, to decide." The room exploded with whispers. Marcus just sighed, tired, annoyed, like this was a headache he had hoped to avoid, because he knew exactly what was coming next.
The supermarket felt electric. Shoppers weren't breathing. Officer Brant looked like he was standing on a trapdoor. And Marcus Hale, calm, steady, protective. Just exhaled like a man who'd been through this rodeo before. The governor stepped closer to him. Not angry, not stern, almost respectful. "Mr. Hale,
she said quietly. May I? She gestured toward the back hallway. Marcus nodded. Yeah, let's get it over with. The two men behind her, the ones everyone kept whispering might be feds, flanked the small group as they moved. But what nobody expected? They stopped just 10 steps away, still in full view, still in the store. The governor clearly wanted transparency. Marcus, she said, please show me your credentials. Everyone watched as Marcus reached into his wallet. Slow, deliberate, no fear, no hesitation. He pulled out a plain black card holder, opened it, and revealed something that
The supermarket felt electric. Shoppers weren't breathing. Officer Brandt looked like he was standing on a trap door. And Marcus Hale? Calm, steady, protective. Just exhaled, like a man who'd been through this rodeo before. The governor stepped closer to him. Not angry, not stern, almost respectful. Mr. Hale, she said quietly, may I? She gestured toward the back hallway. Marcus nodded. Yeah, let's get it over with. The two men behind her, the ones everyone kept whispering might be feds, flanked the small group as they moved. But what nobody expected? They stopped just 10 steps away, still in full view, still in the store. The governor clearly wanted transparency. Marcus, she said, please show me your credentials. Everyone watched as Marcus reached into his wallet, slow, deliberate, no fear, no hesitation. He pulled out a plain black card holder, opened it, and revealed something that made everybody's jaw drop. A badge, a seal, and the unmistakable deep blue ID of someone whose clearance level doesn't get questioned. Not by cops, not by governors, not by anybody. The governor nodded, already knowing. But the crowd? People gasped so loud it echoed. A woman whispered, "Is that Secret Service?" A man said, "Nah, that's higher than Secret Service." A teenager said, "Bro is someone important." And Brandt looked like he'd just seen the ghost of his career float up through the ceiling. Because printed on that ID, in bold, cold federal lettering was United States Protective Service, Special Operations Command. The division that protects high-threat whistleblowers, federal judges, senior intelligence officials, and certain classified persons whose identities aren't made public. And Marcus Hale, the father Brandt had shoved around, was one of them. The governor turned to the crowd. "Mr. Hale," she announced, "is a federally protected asset under my jurisdiction. His identity, duties, and movements are classified." People didn't even whisper this time. They just stared. The governor continued. "He was here today meeting me privately about a state-level security vulnerability. He was with his daughter. He posed no threat. And Officer Brandt," she turned her gaze like a scalpel, "decided to treat him like one." Brandt swallowed a scream. He opened his mouth, but she held up her hand.
Not one word. Two of the federal men stepped toward Brandt. Not fast, not aggressive, just the calm efficiency of people who remove problems for a living. One said, "Officer, your weapon." Brandt hesitated until the governor repeated, "Your weapon, now." He unholstered his gun with trembling hands, then his badge, then his radio. The sound of the badge hitting the plastic collection tray? That was the sound of a career evaporating in public. The governor faced the crowd again. "This officer will be placed on immediate administrative seizure pending federal review. He will not return to duty until my office clears the investigation, which I assure you he will not."
The crowd applauded. Some cheered. One older woman actually said, "Amen." Brandt kept staring at Marcus like he needed a miracle. None came. A mother in the crowd raised her phone and asked Marcus, "Sir, do you want us to share our footage? We all saw what he did to you." Marcus shook his head. "No, don't post anything with my face. My daughter's safety comes first." The governor nodded. "But you can post what happened around him," she added. "The officer's conduct is public interest. Mr. Hale's identity is not." People immediately understood. Phones up again, but pointed only at Brandt. His meltdown became public record. Marcus's life stayed protected. Fair, controlled, clean. The governor turned back to Marcus and his little girl. "Let's get you both somewhere safe." Marcus nodded, hoisted his daughter gently onto his hip, and followed them toward the back exit. But before he stepped away, he paused, just long enough to look at Brandt. Not angry, not smug, just disappointed. You could have asked one question. "Are you okay, sir?" That's it. That's all you had to do. Then he walked away, and that line stuck to Brandt harder than any punishment. The last thing the crowd saw, Marcus and his daughter stepping into a black SUV with government plates, doors closing, security escorting, the governor climbing in after them. Because this wasn't just a bullied dad. This was a man whose life was bigger than anyone in that store realized. And a cop who thought he could intimidate him learned in front of the entire city that some people are protected for a reason.